Jair Brown, Deommodore Lenoir. I watched those two guys. And let's start with Jair Brown. We talked a little bit about this on Locked On 49ers. If you don't listen, 5 days a week, you got the audio version, you got the video version, wherever you get your Locked On information with myself, Brian Peacock. All right. But we talked a little bit about it, and we talked about Jair Brown. And a lot of people have asked us, like, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? So I'm like, I haven't watched all 22, but let me go to the all 22 and see. And I'm like, let me look at the most recent games. So, you got Seattle, you got Philadelphia Eagles. The very first play in the Philadelphia Eagles game, blown coverage. He came down, and I won't even say a blown coverage, because a lot of times a blown coverage is a play that, guys are maybe confused on the back end. There wasn't no confusion. He disguises a lot, and I think he does that very well. First of all, they use him in very multiple ways. He could be a two-high safety, single-high safety. He could play in the box. I watched him guard Devontae Smith in the slot. I watched him guard tight ends in the slot. So he can cover. I think he was very fluid. He has a really good understanding of what's going on. Like, all those things are correct. But they ask him to do a lot of, hey, we're not just going to line up in whatever coverage we're running. We're going to disguise things. We're going to come down. We're going to go, too high, show too high, go down to single high. They use him a lot as a robber. They do a lot of different things with him. On this play, and I'll never pretend to understand exactly what what they're told in meetings. I don't know. But I'll tell you what it looked like. He's disguising. He comes down a little too out of control, and the tight end just blows right by him. And he has him beat by 5-6 yards or so. And luckily, quarterback threw and this is Jalen Hurts, he threw like a 5-yard pass, did not throw it downfield because it would have been a big play. That happened again, I believe, in the second quarter, where he kind of overplayed it, got outran. This one might have been a touchdown. It could have been like a 70-yard play. Quarterback didn't see it. So Jalen Hurts didn't play very well in that game. All right, but you saw those things. But outside of that, man, you're seeing versatility. We're seeing single high. I think he has really good instincts from a single high, being able to run sideline to sideline. Obviously, we know he's not the fastest of guys. And if he gets caught having a match on a vertically pushing route from a slot receiver that's a little speedy, that can be trouble. So if I were an NFL offensive coordinator, I would try to figure out if I can get him singled up on a speedy receiver up the seam, or with a two-way go. Like, that's what I would do. I would be looking at how can I single this guy up and have a two-way go on him and try to beat him, because I don't think he's the fastest, but I think he does a terrific job understanding who he is and what he isn't. What his strengths are, weaknesses, and really how smart he is. I think he does a really good job with, for the most part, putting himself in playmaking positions. I saw him jump routes. I saw him undercut routes. Obviously, we see the interceptions that he's had, a terrific job from a single high. Matter of fact, he almost had two. He had one he could have had three in the game against Seattle. He had one single high, sideline jumps, intercepts the ball, intended for DK Metcalf. In the first quarter of that game, single high, they threw the ball down the right sideline. I don't know who Travarius Ward was guarding, but Travarius Ward was there as well. He was in great position to pick that ball off. He was a single high safety, got a good jump and read on it. And there was another one where the quarterback's arm got hit and Fred Warner picked it off. But if you look at who was waiting right there, Fred Warner didn't get it. It was Jair Brown. And even after the interception, he's just standing there like, "Bro, just take my pick," right? He was literally, it was like an arm punt. All right, so he almost had three. But he was the playmaker, so this shouldn't be anything that is a surprise. And he only played 2 years at Penn State. He was a junior college transfer. He had 10 interceptions in those 2 years, led college football with the most interceptions over that time. So this is a guy that was a playmaker. He came in, got an interception in his first game against Tampa, and it's like, well, of course, first real action against Tampa. And it's like, well, of course, he's a playmaker. And I think he's a guy that's going to continue to make plays. So I'm excited to continue to watch his development. And when I cut on the all 22, I would like to see less of the blown assignments. And I say blown assignments, it's just getting beat, maybe being a little bit overly aggressive. I would like to see him do a little bit better from that standpoint. But just in the sense of his ability, I have liked everything that I've seen. A lot of good ability. Yeah, not the fastest guy. So there's things I would ask of Jimmy Ward, or at least I'd be more comfortable asking Jimmy Ward to do these things as opposed to him. But clearly, the playmaking skills are there, and he is smart. So, really like a lot of what I've seen from Jair Brown so far. Now, on the other side, we got Deommodore Lenoir. And Deommodore Lenoir has been a Swiss Army knife. Shout out to the 49ers coaching staff. They do a terrific job of finding these guys in the 5th round. Listen, I know we get really excited about guys, just every draft pick. Like, oh man, this guy's going to be awesome. But I would assume, and I've never been in one of those rooms, but I would assume that a lot of these guys in the 5th rounds is just like, all right, we'll see what we get from this guy. We like some of the stuff he has. Maybe he's missing this, missing that. That's why he's a later round pick, right? But we'll just see. Now, I think they've done a terrific job of it. Well, we'll just see about this guy. They've been great with those guys. Well, Deommodore Lenoir, I'm not saying he's this long-term shutdown corner, but I will say the 49ers went to 3 straight NFC championship games with a guy by the name of Terrell Brown. And I would say that Deommodore Lenoir reminds me of a Terrell Brown. Like, he reminds me of that guy where it's like, man, I got you 3-year starter, 4-year starter for the 49ers, go somewhere else, make some money, and start. I could see him being that guy. Now, the fortunate thing for the 49ers, they got to groom Terrell Brown for the first 3 years. He just did not play. Was more of a special teamers. And I think he even at Texas maybe played safety and converted to a corner for the 49ers. But for the first 3 years, it was him kind of sitting there. And then in the last year, they kind of like re-signed him. And the next, he's a starter under Jim Harbaugh and ends up starting for 3-4 years for the 49ers before ultimately, I think it was like going to the Raiders or whatever in free agency. I feel like that is Deommodore Lenoir. And he's shown great versatility, being able to play inside when they need it, being able to play outside when they need it. I think ideally he could really play both. Watching him against the Philadelphia Eagles and how he was covering the slot, I thought he plastered to receivers very well. The biggest thing was lack of separation. And there are plays, again, when you're in the slot, there's just a lot of space. So at times, there's going to be that separation. But I thought he did a good job of making sure that wasn't consistent throughout the game. And then you watch him this last game, the job he did on DK Metcalf, a guy that has like 6 inches on you, and how aggressive he was with him, at the catch point. Got called for PI one time, but I thought he did a terrific job of being just aggressive regardless with a guy that comes off as trying to be the bully all the time. So I actually really like DK Metcalf, but it was great to watch a guy like Deommodore Lenoir really kind of get in his chest and play really physical and aggressive with him. We got Manly Shavers. He says Brown is starting to really step up and ball out. My only thing with this, right? And he is. I think he's playing well. He's doing his thing. Fans, we cannot turn on a guy the moment something bad does happen, because that's what I see. Like the 49er fan base, and this is really all fan bases. Shout out to my guy Quincy Avery. Quincy Avery talked about this with how people are like really getting emotional or like turning Patrick Mahomes into a villain, right? Like we see that what's going on right now because he was upset. But the moment, because everybody's good, right? Like we say Brown is starting to step up and he's running the ball out. I saw multiple blown coverages. So if they hit one of those, are we still saying the same thing from him, right? In my opinion, yes, he is stepping up. Yes, he is playing well. Yes, I would like to see continue to grow. But I don't think that it's just going to be super smooth from here on out for him. Like just defensive back in general, there will be times that you get beat. Heck, I've seen how 49er fans, they wanted nothing more but to have anybody other than Deommodore Lenoir at cornerback. And I think he's playing very well. I think Lenoir's playing and he's played well at other times. Like it's not just this year or this stretch of games that he's playing well like this. Like we saw him play very well down the stretch last year. We saw him play extremely well in the postseason where it was most important, right? But then let him have an off game and it's like, I knew they should have traded for Johnson, number 33 from the Chicago Bears. Oh, they got to spend a first round pick on a corner. And it's like, hold on. All right. And I'm not saying you don't need to do that, but we can't be flippy floppy especially on secondary guys, because it's just such a difficult position to play. You're going to have your ups and downs, but more times than not, what are they consistent with? And I would say Lenoir is being consistently good. Will he get beat here and there? I'd assume that's going to happen. All right. But so far, Lenoir has played very well. But I saw how y'all turned on him early in the season. Y'all turned on him, a lot of people. So, yeah, don't turn on him.